Paris Fury is joining us to talk about her new tell-all book about the ups and downs of life with Tyson. Paris, firstly, it is lovely to see you. It's such a shame that you can't be with us in the studio. Good to see you. Congratulations.
I know, I've been dying to get down.
Yeah, well, soon. Congratulations on the birth of your 6th child, baby Athena. But it really was very traumatic, wasn't it? Tell us what happened.
Yeah, I went in for Athena. Everything was seemingly perfect, and I had a lovely birth, and everything was fine. She came out 6 pound 10 and all healthy. And then after a couple of hours, we found out something wasn't right. Tyson was holding the baby. He said something's not right, and we got the nurses in, and they said her heart rate's beating at 300 beats per minute, and it's something called SVT. Apparently, it's very common in young children, young babies. So we didn't really know what to expect. She got rushed off to ICU. I couldn't even go. I was still numb on the bed and I couldn't leave with her. So Tyson followed her through. And when I went in, she was getting ventilated. It was a serious, serious condition. And she needed to be blue lighted over to Alderey Hospital. So we there spent the next 2 weeks trying to figure out exactly what was happening with Athena.
Terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And it got worse because just as it appeared that she was getting better, they were about to bring her out of intensive care, something happened again.
Yeah, she was in my arms. We was going to move down to the high dependency unit, and she just stopped breathing. She stopped breathing. She became non-responsive. I screamed for the nurses because she wasn't connected to none of the machines anymore. The nurses came running in. They ripped her off my arms. They put her on the bed. They pressed the buzzer button. And all the doctors come flooding in. They started resource. I called Tyson. Tyson was actually out running around the hospital grounds because he was still training for his Wilder fight. And obviously at this point, it looked like everything was going OK with Athena. So he went jogging around the hospital grounds. He came running in. I just broke down and screamed. I said, she's dying, she's dying. And it looked that way. And they ventilated her again. And obviously she had to get better. She just had to get better on her own, which when they took her off the machine and everything's come round, she has. Her heart rate is normal again now. Her health is all back to normal. Everything's perfect. But it was such a scary 2 weeks, and you don't expect it with, like, your 6th child. I've always had healthy kids. I've always had good births. And then to be blue lighted and following an ambulance hours after having the baby, it was so, so scary.
It sounds absolutely terrifying. I mean, I know you've talked a lot in the past about wanting lots and lots of children. Is that something that's kind of put you off from having more babies, or is it literally just like a medical one-off random event that happened?
It was a one-off event. There's no reason to expect it to ever be the case again, but it was so scary at the time, and it was the first time in my life I ever wanted to be cut in half and split in two. I had the kids at home upset and worried for baby Athena and worried about mum and wondering what was going on. And then obviously we was in ICU. Me and Tyson spent the full 2 weeks there, and you had that day-to-day struggle. And I just really wanted to say a great shout out to Alderey Hospital. The doctors and nurses there, all of them was amazing. And I just really feel for families that are there for a long times, like months on end, years on end. And it was so hard for 2 weeks, but thank God we got out and everything's okay now. But I do think that the people over there are just miracle workers, and big shout out to the Alderey Hospital. It was amazing.
Paris, can I ask you about the book? Because in it you talk about the struggle of...
Yes.
You're so close to your family. Excuse me. You're so close to the family, and yet you're torn in two because you're sitting at the ringside when your husband fights. How does that feel? I mean, you must feel sometimes that, you know, is this... what could anything happen to him? What kind of thoughts crowd into your head when you're watching him in one of these world titles?
I talked about that in my book. I said that it's such a overwhelming feeling to watch your partner fight, and obviously that is what Tyson always wanted to do. That was always his dream. So I supported him with that, just like he supported me with everything I do. And I found that it is the worst feeling in the world to be ringside and watch your partner box and your husband and your loved one being punched and punching someone else. It's really hard to watch, but when he won and when he wins, it is amazing, and it is a great feeling to have that great achievement and for him to do what he loves best in the world. And I can't ask him not to do it, so I've just got to support and be there and just be the supportive wife, I suppose.
Oh, and you're doing an amazing job. I mean, you're fantastic. You manage the children, you manage the home, you manage everything. I wanted to ask you, Paris, a little bit about the sort of traveller community versus the children going to homeschooling. How do you kind of manage those decisions? Do the children find that difficult? How do you navigate that as a parent?
No, the children's obviously been brought up with the traveller traditions, me and Tyson both coming from the gypsy background. And what we've found is that the kids chose their options. We said to Venezuela, who's now 12, we said, do you want to go into high school or do you want to do homeschooling? And she chose to do homeschooling. So that's what we've done. And she's continuing with all her studies. She's going to carry on to do her GCSEs. And then she will have the opportunity to do everything just like anybody else in life. So we've kind of brought tradition to the 21st century. And so far it's working. She seems really happy. My young son, who's 10, he said he wants to follow the same steps. It's up to each one of them. If they want to go to high school, they can. But at the moment, the ones that grew up and come to that decision have decided this. So I talked about that in my book. I said that there's so many different things in the past that we've done. Like, I never went to high school, and neither did Tyson. And I talked about my upbringing and how I ended up going to college at 15. And it never stopped me. It never held me back. And I think I wouldn't be the person I was today if I hadn't followed the path that I have.
Yeah, well, there's a picture of the two of you. Look. You met when you were 16, didn't you? You got married when you were 19. I mean, Kelly mentioned there, you know, it's incredible how you juggle, you know, 6 children while Tyson is pursuing his dream with your backing. But he does appreciate it, and we know that because he sent us this to play for you.
Tyson Fury, aka the Gypsy King, but guess what? You already knew, didn't you, Paris? Just want to say massive congratulations to my wife, Paris, on her new book. It's doing so fabulous, so well. Very proud of her. Not only is she a top mother, a top wife, an unbelievable person and partner and soulmate, she's also going to be a best-selling author. All the best, Paris. Love you so much. God bless you.
What do you think about that,
Snuck
Paris?
that one in, girls.
We snuck that one in. He wanted to say all that about you.
Oh, that's lovely. No, he's been so supportive of me doing my book. I've actually been really surprised because he's watched the kids and he's took the turns, and I've done all my my book tour, and it's just the books went incredibly well. It's sold out mostly everywhere, and it went to the bestsellers list, and I've just been overwhelmed with it all, and just to see him saying that is amazing too.
Well, you call it, it's Paris Fury, Love and Fury, but it says here the magic and mayhem of life with Tyson. And you certainly, you know, have had some ups and downs, and which you've talked very publicly about. We said there you met when you were 16, married at 19. How would you describe your relationship now, all these years later, 6 children later?
I think it's so much more strengthened. I think when you're younger and you're just you're new to marriage. I talked about life when we was just kids and first married, and how many arguments we had just over silly things of where you'd leave your shoes and just things like that. And then when you get older and you've been together such a long time, I think you realise that all that smallness is irrelevant. And obviously we've got 6 amazing kids. We live an amazing lifestyle. We live we're constantly on the go. We're always busy. We travel. We take the kids everywhere. And obviously it's just a whirlwind. It is the mayhem that we live. And I love every minute of it. And obviously I think having children and having this bond for all these years, you do seem to appreciate one another more.
I just wanted to ask you one final question, Paris, because I know that his training is very integral to him keeping his kind of mental health, you know, in a good place. Do you worry about the time that when he'll eventually retire?
Yes, I have actually said this. I wonder what it'll be like when Tyson does retire, because obviously his focus and one of his things to keep his mental health stable is to focus on goals. And obviously when he does retire, I do wonder if that will affect him. But on the other hand, you can't fight forever, and Tyson eventually will have to hang up his gloves. I think he's got a couple more fights he definitely wants out there. I know the fans definitely want a couple more fights. And after that, hopefully he will hang up his gloves and say maybe 35, 36, just do something else. Maybe go into training people, maybe go into coaching young kids. Just something that revolves around boxing, but not actually Tyson in the ring.
Or he could stay at home, look after the kids, and you can come back to Loose Women.
Yeah. Hey, that's always the plan.
Paris, it's so good to talk to you. Paris Fury, Love and Fury, The Magic and Mayhem of Life with Tyson is out now. Congratulations on the book, and we hope to see you very soon. And we're so pleased that Athena's OK.
Thank you very much.